forward and backwards. That's one dimensional.
That's what I call one-dimensional. If your fight plan is on line, like if you're used to going in and going back and dealing with that either forward or backwards pressure, that's one-dimensional to me. You know, when you learn to make your movements where you get offline, it just gets you out of the way of stuff that's getting fired.
You're off of their line.
Totally. And so, as you can see now that we're starting to work, you know, we've been working for a little over a week now. You can see where I like to not stand in front of a guy and just throw stuff. I like, even if it's just a small adjustment, just that small adjustment makes a world of difference, because now you're no longer where you were in his mind. You have moved. He either has to adjust to you, or he's going to get served up by you. So, and I'm a big believer in, there are two ways to deal with a person when you're sparring or fighting in the street. You're either the person that's dictating the movement, or you're the person that's responding to the dictation. And I'm a firm believer,
you're either the actor or the reactor.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of guys form their whole systems on defense. You know, self-defense. I mean, that's in the title of what we do, right? Self-defense. And so all these guys put so much of their time and effort and years of training in defense. But there's no better defense than a good offense, in my mind. You know, and there's a lot of great martial artists that will tell you that if you're standing back and blocking more than once, you're taking a chance. You're putting yourself at risk. You're playing with odds.
You're reacting.
You should never have to block more than once. Fights don't get won by being defensive. Fights get won by being offensive. You don't win a fight by how many times you block the technique. You win a fight by how many times you hit that sucker.
So instead of waiting for an opening, you create an opening.
I'm just thinking that, you know, to me, it's always worked better for me that instead of me sitting back and waiting on you, let me be the one that dictates the action. I would rather be the one that's dictating the action than being the one that's sitting back going, God, I got to figure this out. I got to be able to solve this riddle. I got to be able to make sure I block all this stuff. Why? You know, you only need to block the first thing you throw if in fact you want to take a defensive posture. Block the first thing they throw, and then put the money on, you know, get your money, and don't let up. So you can either be the one that moves first, or you can be the one that moves afterwards, but why sit back and continue to try and cover and block? To me, that's just a person who's afraid to commit, a person who's afraid to pull the trigger. You know, training is one thing. I mean, we want to train to learn to be defensive. We want to learn to train to block things, because blocking is a necessity. It's going to come in handy. But we are as we train. I say this all the time. We are as we train. So if you spend a lot of your time just learning to be defensive, at what point are you going to start becoming more aggressive, more offensive, you know? So you will find that in my methods of what we work, I don't like to spend too much time standing there being defensive. And I want to be the one that's always dictating the action. So instead of me standing in a line and either checking and then reacting and waiting on you, I want to make not only my movements first, and I want him to play catch up with me, but I want him to have to think about what he's doing and not just be reactive, you know? A person, when he's fighting, he sees a fighter in front of him, any moron can throw a jab and land it, right? Because that's where the guy is. What happens is, and what I like to try and incorporate is, if I move, now not only does he have to know which way I move to, but he has to register in his mind, or his training's got to kick in to be able to follow wherever I go. So why make it any easier on my opponent? So why stand there in front of my guy and just fight him toe to toe? Why not learn to make movements happen and force him to respond? Because now not only am I forcing him to not be able to get away with just getting a lucky shot in because I'm still standing there in front of him, I'm forcing him to know exactly which way I'm going to go and how to adjust to that. On top of, I'm going to be beating the shit out of him at the same time. So it's like, the more I challenge my opponent, the better it's going to be for me, you know? So you're going to find that that's how we're going to deal with a lot of things. I love to to work angles. I love to not just come straight in and straight back. I want you always challenging your opponent, making him have to think, making him have to respond, not making it easy for him. And that's why we do a lot of the stuff we're doing. So anyway, let's with all
the
of that.
style of having all styles.
The style of all styles.
Yes. The style of all styles.
Let's work on some stuff that you want to work on today. So this will be like a light day for you.
And we'll just work on putting some thoughts together and some combos together. So right now you've been working a lot of
Like in close and learning to do a little bit of this root control or checking. Here, bang, and going here, bang, bang. Yesterday on the video, we were doing our little stepping drills, and I was throwing the jab and I was throwing the cross, and you had your hands up, and you were moving, but this lead hand wasn't acknowledging, and so you want to make sure that you're not just moving to react, but you're also acknowledging something that's coming, you know. So like if that hand comes, I don't want to just throw your jab. If that hand comes, I don't want to just get in the habit of moving off of it. I want to get in the habit of checking it too, right? Now, I know a lot of guys are going to say, okay, well, if you check and he comes back with that second punch, well, that's always a what if. There's always going to be a what if. And hopefully, you're going to check and fire fast enough that that's not going to happen, or you're going to be able to read by that first punch that he's not really committing to that first punch. He's trying to set you up with a double or whatever. But we learn, what we will learn, if you don't already have it down, is blocks are one way of avoiding getting hit, and another is just moving off of things, you know. So a lot of the times, instead of feeling like we need to block stuff, we might just find that why even bother blocking it, you know, just move our head off of it and kind of just barely check it and then work off of that. So so you're not going to just rely on checking as always being there for you, or being the only thing that's going to save you in all instances. So let's work off your jab. Let's have you go jab, and then let's have you go jab cross, and then let's have you go jab cross hook, and just work that little three-piece combo for right now.
get you warmed up, get you used to hitting something. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. Okay, good. And make sure that you work taking that line. I don't want you coming straight in all the time. So it's okay to stay on the line for the jab, and then a little bit offline for the jab cross, and then the offline jab cross, and then that hook.
Oh, so you mean go here, and then you're saying just move?
No, I would come to this side.
So jab,
Jab cross, and then that same. You don't need to step quite as far, just for the jab cross, because you want to be just off that line.
Remember, when you step over, you create gap. So I might be able to tag you right here, but if I step over, I can't. So you got to be careful where you step when you step offline, right? So I don't want to be like, if I'm going to be here and I'm just going to bang and I'm going to pop you with that jab, bang, that's okay. Now if I want to get this cross in off this next combo, I'm going to throw that jab, but I'm going to slide off that path a little bit for that cross. So I'm going jab, jab, cross. Okay, so now in the next one,